Hey everyone. Yeah, I hope everybody is well. I am going to dive into our content, our information here today, and get right back out. Okay, it's the middle of the day, got a lot more to do, so I'm going to respect my time as well as yours. Hey, I want to take a few minutes to talk about parenting forward into 2021, and essentially what I'm hoping that we can do in this time is uh, uh, take a look at a couple things. When I say parenting forward, I'm talking about like the need to parent with momentum, right? Guys, we've just walked through this entire year where it has completely shifted what parenting is and what it has been for us. And look, we're gonna be walking into this next year where it continues. It continues. And there's a few critical things that I want to discuss with you all to ensure that we all have the strategies and the mindsets. I want to talk about two specific things that's going to help us parent well into this next year. So that we're leading our families well and ensuring that our kids are in a good emotional space as a result. All right. So here, I think I'll just kind of just jump into this information. I wanted to look at specifically. There's a study that was done as a result of COVID-19 and how it's impacted or affected families. So one of the things that I noticed inside of the season is well, in the study that what they did was look at northern Italy, which was hit hard by COVID deaths, and they measured the emotional response of parents. They measured the risk factors of families. They measured the emotional regulation of the kids. And one of the interesting things about this study is that they found things like risk factors such as, like being in an environment or in a community where COVID is hitting the most, having a death in the family, things like a parent losing a job, families being locked down, kids having to come home from school. All the things that we think would really hurt our kids the most, actually, they found had little to no effect on the emotional regulation of the kids. The kids that were in these that had high risk factors and kids that had low risk factors kind of scored the same. The one factor that they found, which was consistent in impacting the emotional regulation of the kids, was two things. One was the confidence of parents as just as parents. They were looking at the more confident a parent was about how effective they were, the better that child regulated. The other key thing that they saw was the better the more a parent felt that their work was effective, the better the child did emotionally, the better regulation they had. And so what all that means and what that all points to for us is, okay, well, how are we parenting in a way that's effective? And how are we seeing and validating who we are as parents? So that's the key thing that I want to talk to you guys about is I think is important. It's critical for us to not look at what's happening, but we have to pay attention to how the things that are happening in our world is affecting our confidence in ourselves and is affecting our confidence in what we're doing as parents. We have to reclaim that level of confidence. We have to kind of get back to a place where we see our value in that. So I want to read out a couple statements here, and this is kind of me getting into, well, okay, these are the things that we need to understand and realize in order to parent well into this next year. All right, one is the attack isn't the chaos around us. The attack is how the chaos is affecting our confidence. All right, let's start there. Like, it's not about the political upheaval, the racial discourse that's happening. It's not about the pandemic and the impact of that. There's also a lot of research talking about the mental health. It's not about just these factors on the outside, but it's how all these factors are messing with our inside, is messing with our mind, with our belief, right, with what we're perceiving. The other key thing is the ultimate purpose of parenting is to become a constant point of reference for our children. We were all this past year forced, like pushed into having to be the primary and sole point of the reference for our kids. I mean, look, teachers were removed out of the picture. Everything depended on us. Whoa, my bad. Everything begins to depend on us, and what our kids saw and what they were exposed to. Teachers removed, mentors, friends. It was all us looking at these kids and our kids looking at us. So one of the things that we have to reconcile and just kind of embrace is the fact that we are the primary reference point for them. So that means the way I feel creates the context for how they feel. The way I perceive myself and perceive my well-being creates the context for what gives them, our kids, permission to see their well-being and to see their world, right? Critically important. We are now, and we will continue into this next year, be the primary reference point for our kids. Okay, so the other key thing that I wanted to mention as well is this idea that hope is everything. Parents must realize what we do contributes towards something that we don't see. That has to make us absolutely serious about our conviction in parenting. Everything that we do, every tiny little discipline piece that we put in, every intervention, every effort, all of that matters. And it matters not to current compliance. It doesn't just matter to making sure things today are fixed, but it matters for what we don't see. A future that's unfolding, a future that's coming. Let me tell you, I'm honestly worried about something. I'm worried that now that the idea of a vaccine has presented itself, I'm worried that is going to create a lot of unfulfilled hope for us in this next year, which is potentially more disastrous than this past year where there were no answers, right? There was no hope. There wasn't something as concrete as this potential vaccine. And because of that, it made us rely on something that had to come from us as opposed to us waiting on an answer that's coming from outside. And I'm worried that the vaccine is here, but when does it, come to us? When do we have access? When does it and how does it affect and change the current context? And we're going to constantly hope for normal again, a 2019 reality, when in fact some things have just changed forever. It'll never be the same. I'm worried that we're going to be looking for a savior instead of looking to create stability. I want to mention that to you all because that's one of the key things that I want you to be thinking about moving into this next year. Don't look for salvation. Don't look for everything to just be normal again. Look to begin to create stability, right? In your family and in your home and in your life today. That has to start with you. So that's one of the things. Superman may not save us. And this is obviously, I'm talking worst case scenario. I have no inside secrets, but I'll say that I don't want any of us to wait and hold and expect something outside to happen to affect our well-being, our confidence, our assurity that what we're doing matters for something we don't see. Instead, we have to get back to a place where it's hey, this is it, and this matters, and I mean something. What I do today contributes towards a stability, and that stability is a solution. That stability and consistency is what our kids need today and need for the future of whatever challenges around the corner. Okay. I really want to encourage you all to be thinking about that. So here's the thing. How do we solve this? What exactly are we going to do to solve it, to bring solution, to make all this better? I think one of the important things is I want you to begin to discern the difference between problems and solutions. Right now, everything wants you to draw your attention on what's broken, the mental health issue that's happening in the U.S., the spiritual battles in your family and over you and your kids, the culture issues, the personality and age development and developmental stage. I mean, the trauma that individuals, yourself, your kids might be walking through. the differences in co-parenting, right? You might have a parent, or you might have an adult grandparent, in the home, and you have this co-parenting dynamic that's broken, where one person's weak, one person's strong, or we're stepping on each other's toes. All those things are problems, but the intent here isn't to focus on those things, right? We have to start looking at solutions. We have to look at not just what's broken, but what are we doing today to make better tomorrow? What structure am I building in my life, in my home, in my family, and me, so that tomorrow makes us more stable, tomorrow makes us more sure in where we're going. So that's important. I think another big problem that we can find ourselves focusing on, and again, these things are sideshows, they're not the main event. One of the things that we can find ourselves focusing on is our own insecurity, our own unrelenting standards. Things should look like this, should be like this, and I'm distraught because they're not, and I'm talking in terms of our kids, their behavior, expectations of relationships around you, the shame, the guilt that we carry, the regret that we carry. We can end up spending too much time looking at the problems and thinking, if I think more about the problems, if I do more and consume myself about the problem, then maybe I'll feel better, and it's not going to work. That's not going to work. All you're doing is staying stuck, right? So critically important. Let's not look at the problem. We have to start looking at solutions and what we're going to do about it. So let's talk solutions. Let's talk about what we're going to do to build into 2021, to parent forward, to parent in a way that creates momentum for us, for our kids, for our families. So one is we have to attend to the structures around our kids to create a new normal for them. The new normal is what we create. Like, our kids don't know what normal is until we tell them, until we create it. Okay. So it's critical that we pay attention to the structures around us, to begin to build that, So one of the things that's important inside of this, and I'm digging more into this whole thing of building structures, we have to build according to principle, not emotion. And what I mean by this is, essentially, guys, we have to have a game plan. One of the things that we have to be aware of is that we're not walking into a new day just kind of off, how I feel, and responding and interacting, intervening with just like emotionally what I can handle in that moment. Because, dude, you are so limited. You're so limited. I read a quote yesterday, actually. I really love it. I'm going to butcher it, but it's by James Clear, the author. And one of the things that he said is, he said, my environment is so disciplined that it gives me permission to not be so disciplined, right? It's essentially what he's highlighting is this idea that I've created structures and systems in the natural flow of my day, so that all I have to do is just kind of like live in the flow of those structures and systems, as opposed to having to draw on my own internal ability in every tiny little moment to create, some kind of normalcy or settledness in my home and family. So look, I'm gonna keep going back to it, because it's the truth. It's not sexy, but it's the truth. Routines, rituals, and having a plan. I'm telling you, like, that is a solution. That's what's going to make us consistent. What's amazing about those kind of things is that I can't tell you what routines and rituals should look like for your specific family. I don't know. But for you know that, and you can design those routines, those rituals, and the structure for your family. But we have to go back to that. And we just have to build that. We have to build that, and it has to supersede all this other noise around us. I just, on my YouTube channel, did a video about balance, resilience, and self care. And that's one of the key things that I talk about in that video is that, hey, society's trying to define us. Society says any problems you have is a failure of your own. And one of the things that we have to realize is that no, all these things are very natural and necessary for our learning. If we can realize something doesn't work and we're struggling with this, it's cool. It tells me there's something I can tweak about my approach to make it work better. So we got to do this outside of a society's opinions and do it well for our kids and for ourselves. All right. Being functional and while walking through fear is attainable. The only factor that has trained us to be immobilized by fear is society and our experiences. It's possible to walk through life and like just deal with fear. It's just in the same way that it's, and this is another quote I'm thinking about, in the same way that it's possible to execute while you're tired and to do things while you're tired, it's possible to do things and execute while you have fear. That's called being courageous. It's called being brave. It's not the absence of fear, but it's present fear action. And that's okay. And the only things that have us stuck and feeling like we can't do it is our experiences and the outside opinions, the opinions around us. You're supposed to do this or be this, that's coming from TV, social media, even your own home. Sometimes even you and your own experiences and past. But what we have to begin to train ourselves is to break down those moments and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to walk through this in spite of the fear. I'm going to face it. I may not know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it in spite of the fear. And I'm going to have confidence as I do it, as I parent, as I create the structure and carry this routine. And I'm going to have faith or hope that it matters, that every interaction, every intercession, conversation that we have, we're trying to build this thing brick by brick. I'm going to believe that for you, the 20-year-old version of you, 5-year-old child, is going to benefit greatly and be and not be impacted by the chaos of 2020, 2021, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's important. I want you to keep that in mind. All right. So cool. With that said, I think one of the things that I'd like to do is talk about this cartoon. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yeah. Okay. So I saw this cartoon the other day. I'm like, yo, this is exactly what I see all the time. So, yeah, it's just two guys parachuting. Oh no. What is it? My parachute won't open. And the other guy says, don't worry. You have the rest of your life to fix it. And that's kind of like the end of that. But the reason why this cartoon is like, yeah, I get this and I connect with it is because, one of the things that I notice, oftentimes as a therapist, as a, coach, as a community, and what I do is sometimes we say things like, it's okay. Be patient. You'll figure it out. It's go. And everything I've said up to this point, guys, is like, hey, you know what? You got to build it stone by stone, brick by brick. It's all right. But for some of us, it feels like we're falling out of a parachute and everything that we're doing today is so critical that I've got to get it now or things will be destroyed. Like things are going to fall apart. And for that reason, there are two things that I have begun doing and implementing to help support families and parents have confidence in who they are as parents and confidence in what they're doing in terms of interceding. So I wanted to just talk about those two initiatives that I'm rolling out today and rolling out over the next year to better support us in a very real and personal way to figure this out and to build this together. Okay, so here, one of the things that I am just putting out today and launching is, is a coaching journey. And again, I'm thinking about the parent who's kind of falling and feeling like if I don't tie this down today, everything's going to fall apart. And so what this coaching journey basically looks like is just a one-on-one sessions with me and you, with me, and if your spouse is there, part of it, both parents. It's not counseling. It's not therapy. This is coaching. Therapy, we're kind of discovering it as we go along and we're trying to fix that's broken. With coaching, and this is why this is specific and different, is I am giving you the tools and framework to fill out so that you can build forward more confidently. Right? It's not necessarily repairing something what's broken. It's adding to what you already got and sharpening what you're already doing. Right? That's what coaching is about. And that's what this is about, is to essentially build that and to impact that. So there are 3 phases to this. The first is phase 1. What is this? Is this the right one? 204. Weird. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me see. Okay. All right. Well, this thing is some kind of presentation mode. All right. So phase 1, and essentially, what this looks like is, it starts off with just a 20-minute consultation, with us just kind of understanding, setting expectations. Then we meet again over the next 2 weeks, and we're just measuring structure. We're assessing. I'm learning more about the framework of your family, about like the goals, the pain points, the issues that you have to overcome and figure out. And as soon as we finish with the measuring, which are 2 60-minute sessions, and then there's an optional like third session where it's 2. We can also do another session if there's a lot there, but then we walk into a design, the family design. And this is where I bring kind of my thoughts, my ideas, my experiences to the specific challenges you're facing. And I talk about, a structure of discipline, of responding to your kids that build them as a whole person. So we're looking at like their emotional development, their intellectual development, their executive functioning, right? Cause and effect, their ability to navigate and think for themselves, as well as addressing issues with you personally as a parent that might be holding you back, right? And holding you from being completely confident in who you are in those moments. So we're creating that design, we're creating that plan together. And then from there, I give you a series of trainings, and alongside while my face-to-face sessions with you, there are also video resources that I offer and kind of give you as a platform of what our discussions are. These are courses that I've created, online videos I've created, videos I'm going to create specifically customized for you. And I put that in there. And then the last phase is where we really start to work it. Because at this point, what we're doing is feedback and coaching. So every other week, you and I are meeting for 30 minutes. And we're just sitting down, we're talking through it, 30 minutes at a time. And so what I am doing is on the software, you're going to be giving me updates and journaling the journey, journaling, hey, this is where it's working, this is where it's not working. Here's something that I'm noticing, I'm concerned about, or, this is like progressively, what we're going for. And each week we're actually like doing it and implementing that routine, that structure, that expectation, the skills and strategies for your family. And so it's just, back and forth over those 2 weeks to make sure it works. And at the end of the 12 week, we just repeat as needed, but we do an assessment of how much progress we've gotten. And then we move forward from there. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to send you all, let me go back to my screen. I'm going to send you all in the chat, just the link to that coaching course. I think the important thing with this coaching course is that it is one-on-one time with me. So it isn't cheap. All right. It's, there's time invested in that, resources. So it definitely is created to be, hey, that intense focus for 2-3 months and then you got it. You know the system. You know how to set this thing up for the future, for you and your family. So that's one of the things that I've created, and I'm launching that today. It's available. Just go to that link and you can read more about it. Register there. Set up a consultation for us to talk more about it. But the other key thing that I'm doing this next year, and I think there'd be a lot of value in it, is to have conversations, online conversations with parents, with you all, where we have these sessions, we record it, you can review it, and we talk about factors that allow us to parent fearlessly and allow us to be even more confident in our parent. But the great thing about this is, instead of it being, hey, 101 with me, it's me with a group of other parents together, and we're all just going to sit down and we're going to work through this stuff. We're going to talk through specific factors and issues that we need to figure out and we need to talk through together. It's going to be a time of us building each other up, giving each other confidence. I mean, obviously there's a support dynamic to it. It's also a time where I'm going to deliberately take, 15, 20 minutes of the time and just kind of present a topic, present a core issue or question that we've been addressing. Before every session, for the people who are going to be a part of this, I'm going to send out a questionnaire that'll field questions so that we can talk about that, and allow us to keep some of these topics anonymous, but really allows us to address core things as they're happening, together with safe people, and a safe moderator, me, as we walk through it. I'm going to start that off with like no cost at all. And we'll see how that progresses and the value that it brings. And then we'll go from there. All right. So yeah, those are two things that I want to do, because here, if I'm understanding this correctly, the things that are really rocking our kids right now isn't the chaos. It isn't the homeschool. It isn't necessarily the, us losing jobs and being home, being, in an environment that's like so constraining. If anything, the thing that's going to have the most impact is them seeing us as a reference point and them responding to it. So what we need to do and what we need to be aware of now is I need to increase my confidence as a parent. I need to be able to regulate myself in the middle of this, but I also need to build capacity for myself to be confident that what I'm doing matters. Hope is crucial, right? That what I'm doing today matters. And I want us to bring together the best evidence-based, but also experiential thought and discussions around what is working and what will help us be even more confident about what we're doing. So that's it. Let's go forward. Let's do that. And you guys let me know how I can support you through the journey of that. All right. Okay, guys, have a good one. I will talk to you soon.